Hey, Peggy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Heart health is more than just the physical well-being. It represents like a foundation of vitality, resilience, and the ability to live fully.
Your heart carries stories of resilience, love, and survival. Caring for your heart means honoring yourself and the generations before and after you. It means protecting your ability to gather, laugh, and be present. Learn more about your heart health at hennepincounty.gov/heart-beats because your story matters and your heart beats for generations.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
There's a powerful story being shared at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. Unchi Said So. A solo exhibition by Danielle Seawalker brings forward Native stories shaped by collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold color and portraiture, this work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture while reflecting the idea that sovereignty begins at home. On view now through June 6th. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies tonight with a low around 38, Thursday sunny with a high near 63, and Friday sunny with a high around 66. Step into the magic of The Wizard of Oz at Children's Theater Company, playing now through June 14th, featuring the beloved songs from the classic film, breathtaking stage magic, and a dog as real as Toto. Get your tickets today at childrenstheater.org. That's childrenstheater.org.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, I want to welcome everyone. Today, we're going to have Arvina Martin, our political consultant, out of Madison, Wisconsin, and we'll talk about what's happening locally and also what's happening nationally in Native news and political news. And I just want to give a shout out today, too, to Billy Mills. It's Billy Mills Day, as far as I'm concerned, and it's his birthday, and so he won the 10,000 meter 1964 Olympics gold, and I've had an opportunity to have him on the show a couple times and talk to him, and he's doing really good. He's in his 80s now, but it's Billy Mills Day here on Native Roots Radio. Also, yesterday was MMIR, Indigenous Relatives Day, and a lot of times we call that Red Dress Day. And somber happenings at the Indian Center, but all over Turtle Island, I've seen people talking about their relatives. We have less than 2% of the population here in Minnesota, and we have 10% of the people missing. And we just need to talk about it. We talk to our friend State Senator Mary Kunesh about this all the time, but it's a thing. And a day of remembrance was yesterday. I just wanted to bring that up. Also, I want to talk about something here for a minute and a half or so. And there's a magazine, newspaper called The Circle magazine out of the Twin Cities, and it's a national magazine. And yours truly here will be taking over as managing editor with this unbelievable publication that's been around since 1980. And I just want to say a big shout out to everyone that's reached out, which is overwhelming and amazing for me to hear, to help support me, but also keep this great legacy magazine going. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be changing it to a quarterly magazine, and we're going to be doing a lot of different things online. We'll be directing Native news directly to the website, thecirclenews.org, daily news, and updating on what's happening on Turtle Island. And so we'll have people also coming on the show with weekly reports on what's happening on the Circle and what's happening in Native news directly from them. And they're going to have their own radio show once a month here on AM 950 locally. So really excited to talk about that and what's going on. Hey, just before we get Arvina on for the next segment, I want to just play this clip from yesterday, and bear with me because everyone that watches Native Roots Radio knows I'm a little technical, dangerous. So let's see if I can play Lieutenant Governor speaking yesterday at the Minnesota Missing and Murdered Indigenous recognition and name and speaking out the names of the people that are missing. And let's take a listen to that before while we end up this segment. Let me make sure I can do this because there we go.
My name is Peggy Flanagan. My Ojibwe name is Speaks in a Loud and Clear Voice Woman. I'm a member of White Earth, and my family's the Wolf Clan. And I'm just humbled to be in this space in Shimmy Rich. Rachel, for getting started in a good way. And wanted to acknowledge as well your good work, and the creation of this country's first state-based missing and murdered Indigenous relatives office in the country. This office exists because of the incredible work of advocates, of family members, of individuals who refused to give up, and for folks who listened. And I want to specifically lift up Senator Mary Kunesh in this moment as well, who knew how incredibly important it was that our community members not have to continue to be re-traumatized in telling their stories, but to simply have people who are willing to listen and to enact policy in this office, which has much more work to do, but it matters. And it matters especially in this moment when there are folks who would prefer that we be invisible. There are folks who would prefer that we not talk about the statistics and the people that we have lost and those who have gone missing and people who have lost their lives. But we will not be silent. We will not go quietly into the night because this work is required that we raise our voices and we ensure that this does not continue to happen to anyone's family or any individual. So thank you so much for being here today. And I have a proclamation that I would like to read. Whereas Indigenous people continue to experience the highest rates of murder and exploitation per capita in Minnesota's urban, rural, and reservation population, disappearing at alarming rates with very little public visibility or justice. This is a long-term and ongoing crisis impacting Indian country across the United States, and there is no comprehensive estimate for the number of Indigenous people who have been lost to violence since the beginning of colonization. More than 4 in 5 American Indian women have experienced violence in their lifetime, and more than half have experienced sexual violence. Although they make up just 1% of Minnesota's population, Indigenous women and girls account for 10% of the missing females in the state. Indigenous men and two-spirit relatives are also overrepresented in missing persons and homicide data. According to a 2020 study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, homicide was in the top 10 leading causes of death in the United States for American Indian males, 1 to 54 years old, and American Indian males have the second highest rate of homicide compared with males in all other racial or ethnic groups. In the history of settler colonization and ongoing systemic racism, historical trauma, sexism, and sexual objectification of Indigenous relatives have increased the prevalence and impact of the underlying causes of violence, including poverty, homelessness, housing instability, justice involvement, food insecurity, mental health instability, and substance use disorders for Native Americans compared to non-Native Americans. Minnesota recognizes the sovereignty and role of the 11 sovereign tribal nations that share geography with Minnesota. Law enforcement and agencies at local, state, tribal, and federal levels, community-based organizations, and all advocates dedicated to ending this crisis. In 2019, the Minnesota legislature created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Task Force, and in 2021, Minnesota established the Office for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives, dedicated to ending violence against Indigenous people in the state.
Sorry about that. Somebody is calling in as we're playing that, but you get the gist, and I'll see if I can play the rest of that. Looks like I can't right now, but hey, having a proclamation from the governor and having Lieutenant Governor read that, it's an amazing thing here, and we are really proud to have this kind of political outreach here in the state of Minnesota right now. And again, I loved how they gave the shout out of the state senator Mary Kunesh. So up next, we're going to have Arvina Martin and our political consultant. We'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas offers an affordable 2-year associate degree with a seamless path to a bachelor's. Located in downtown Minneapolis, students receive free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaching, tutoring, a Metro Transit pass, mentorship, and paid internships, all at Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College. Your journey to success starts here.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot Day. Sorry about that phone call. A friend of mine was in an emergency, so he tried to get a hold of me and didn't realize I was live on the air like I've been the last 5 years. Hey, I hope he's doing okay. I'm texting him right now. We have our friend Arvina Martin on, our political consultant, and always great to see you, Arvina. I was playing a clip from the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor's proclamation for MMIR, Indigenous Relatives Day, and I know all over Turtle Island people have been, recognizing that, and it's been we heard the names yesterday at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, and it's always heartbreaking to hear that our relatives are gone and don't come back, and more than just one person's involved. There's families, there's relatives, and community that's really mourning all this when people disappear.
Yeah, we had an event here in Madison at the Capitol that I think this was the 6th year in a row that it's happened, and it was put on by Rachel Fernandez, who is Menominee. She does a fabulous job. I was unable to attend this year because of meetings that I couldn't get around, but I saw the pictures and it looked very, there were definitely a lot of people there. There were a lot of Native people, but also a lot of non-Native folks. And I was very happy to see that the day was being acknowledged by lots of elected leaders across the state. I think the sad part about needing a day like this is that these cases don't get much, if any, attention or publicity, or even attention from law enforcement historically, and that leads to obviously inaction on the part of law enforcement agencies, there are potentially folks that could have been helped had a search started right away, or if if someone had been had their report taken seriously and not had somebody say, oh, she's just a runaway, things like that. And I think what broke my heart the most is that today I saw another post about another young woman here in Wisconsin, a young Oneida woman named Miranda Smith, who has not been heard from since Friday, May 1st. This is something that unfortunately happens every day. And I know I've mentioned this story before, but I was talking while in a meeting discussing the issue, and I was telling a non-Native friend who was also listening to the meeting about how my Facebook feed always has somebody who's looking for someone who is missing. Mm-hmm. And or a story about maybe a trial about somebody who did wrong to one of our relatives, and I showed him my screen, and I scrolled up and down, and I was like, look, and there were like 4, and this is something that he had never like he had heard, and this is somebody who is an ally who shares, news, who supports the causes and does things actively to help, when he's been called upon or when he's seen things that need to be uplifted. And he was absolutely shocked that in just my Facebook feed, a couple of seconds of scrolling led to several posts about people looking for their lost relative. And I don't think that the public at large grasps how prevalent this problem is. Sometimes people are like, well, we're a small population, so maybe the numbers aren't there necessarily. But when you look at the percentages, they're crazy. I mean, it's homicide is roughly the third leading cause of death among Native women and girls between the ages of 10 to 24. Like it's so heartbreaking that statistic goes down to that young age, and that our girls as young as 10 have this risk, associated towards their safety, to their lives, and so little is being done about it. And I think that we are at a point where Native women in particular, and hopefully more Native men, are getting sick of this, getting sick of these kinds of actions, or being normalized or not addressed. And these, a lot of actions from men within our communities, people that are our fathers, our brothers, our uncles, our sons, etc., are harassing women online. And we had an event that was being scheduled in Madison to help raise awareness about MMIR, and it was canceled because several women came out and said, well, the organizer, this Native man, has been sending harassing messages to women online for a long time, and nobody said anything. And finally somebody said something, and this guy was organizing the event, and the event was canceled, which I think was a good idea, because you don't want to be supporting the efforts of somebody who's abusing the women in our community, our women relatives. And it's scary. And I really commend those women. And some people might not necessarily see the connection, but it is the lack of care for women, and just being like, oh, whatever, you're getting harassing messages online, just, oh, they don't mean it, oh, maybe they're drunk and like they'll sober up and be okay. No. And I'm so proud of the women that have come out and named names. And, a lot of them have been coming with receipts too. And, we need to see more of our male relatives doing this. And we need to see more of our male relatives speaking out about this. Even if it's, if it's something that is somehow not it's not escalated to murder yet, but harassing and treating women with anything other than respect needs to stop, because that's contributing to a society that sees us as less than. And then, that ends with violence towards us, and it ends with violence towards us a lot of times without anybody being punished for it.
This is the second week we've talked about something similar to this, and I know, and I really appreciate you bringing it up, because I believe last week we were talking a little bit about a lot of the sexualized and BS talk by powwow masters over the years, and that goes down the same thing. People, especially, and I appreciate you saying that, especially men really need to call this out. It's not always the woman's job to do this. And so I really appreciate you bringing this up, because this is something that needs to be talked about, and needs to be brought up, because this isn't okay. And we know, when we talk federally and talk about the government, the orange one was a head of beauty pageants, and it's the same thing where we see these pedophiles that are working in Hollywood that give acting lessons to young people, and it's a thing that needs to be talked about constantly. And I know the beginning of being Me Too'd and things like that was the start, but we still really, really need to talk about this.
Absolutely. And I'm calling on all of our male relatives who are listening to this. If you hear this and it's being couched as jokes or locker room talk, and you know that these are things that somebody would never say in front of their mother, in front of their grandma or their aunties, they shouldn't be saying it at all. So we need more men in those situations to call it out and say, that's not okay. You can't talk like that, even if there are no women around. We just have to stop this line of thinking.
Absolutely. Let's talk more about it in the next segment. I'm here with Arvina Martin, our political consultant, and this is something that, especially after yesterday's MMIR talk, we really need to talk about and laser in on it. Thank you so much, Arvina. We're going to be right back. This is Native Roots Radio.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis Air. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
There's a powerful story being shared at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. She Said So. A solo exhibition by Danielle Seawalker brings forward Native stories shaped by collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold color and portraiture, this work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture while reflecting the idea that sovereignty begins at home. On view now through June 6th. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovated Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas offers an affordable 2-year associate degree with a seamless path to a bachelor's. Located in downtown Minneapolis, students receive free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaching, tutoring, a Metro Transit pass, mentorship, and paid internships, all at Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College. Your journey to success starts here.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Visit during free Thursday nights. Every week from 5 to 9 p.m., there's something new to explore. Enjoy date-friendly events like artist talks, performances, and exhibition openings, or explore art-making open library hours and exhibition tours. Settle into your weekend among community. Free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Maintaining our health, particularly our heart health, is very important to us as a family.
Your heart gives you time. Time with family, time with community, time to pass down what matters. Protecting your heart helps keep those moments alive. A visit with a healthcare provider can be one step toward a healthier future. Learn more at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats. Your heart health is essential because your heart beats for generations.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies tonight with a low around 38, Thursday sunny with a high near 63, and Friday sunny with a high around 66.
Enjoy authentic Chinese favorites at the Great Wall Restaurant. From hot and sour soup to sesame chicken and even their delicious Peking duck, you'll find it at the Great Wall Restaurant. Visit them at 4515 France Avenue to experience their full selection and learn more at greatwallrestaurant.us. That's greatwallrestaurant.us.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Hey, we're with our friend Arvina Martin, our political consultant out of Madison, and we talk about all politics and a lot of things here on Native Roots Radio. And we started off by talking about the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives Day, but also the importance of calling out people. And I think we should finish this conversation because it's very important and people need to hear it. And maybe people are, don't have the proper thought process to do this. And I think it's something that we need to talk about because, as we know, politically here, nationally, if you're, going with somebody and you're not calling them out, you're complacent or compliant. And that's a thing we should talk about.
Absolutely. And this is not a new conversation. You're talking about the orange one and how he had a beauty pageant. It was a teen beauty pageant even that he would talk about going and looking, checking out what was happening behind the scenes and seeing participants in various stages of undress. He got caught on tape saying, grab them by the whatever. And that wasn't the end. That was not the end of him. And people were like, oh yeah, that's just the locker room talk. And I think it made people a lot more brave to be saying things like that and not expecting any repercussions. So we need to bring those repercussions back. Maybe they're just, when it comes to comments, they're just social ramifications or whatever. But we need to bring shame back, for so many things. But this misogyny that has been bursting through the seams of our society, we need to look at this. We know that the manosphere is reaching out and is, getting to our young men and our boys, and they're seeing this example as, well, that's how you be masculine. That's how you be a man. You make comments like this. You put yourself above women. And your dominance or your, things like that, or your rightful place. And that's not right, and this is, obviously far beyond Indian country, but our boys are having access to this as well. And we don't need that for our young men. We need our men relatives to be good examples for our young men and to be that kind of example of masculinity that, you know, is not afraid to show emotions other than anger, you know, and that they have respect for the women in their lives and the women that are not in their lives. You know, a woman does not deserve respect just because you know her. You know, you need to, it needs to be across the board. And, you know, things like slut shaming happen all the time online. You know, if you say something wrong on Facebook, someone comes out and calls you a slut. I mean, it happens all the time, and that shouldn't be normalized. I certainly don't want my teenage daughter going through things like this, but I'm sure that she has.
Right.
And
well, I agree, and you know, not to change the subject, but what I wanted to say is that, you know, I've seen young ones treat their parents bad, and I will just say, I'm an elder, and don't ever talk to your parents like that in front of me or ever. And it goes it goes a long way, but especially with our women, because of really like what you said. We want to make racists afraid again. You know, we want to make people afraid again, and they're not acting. And there's a lot of reasons, but again, I want to really just echo what you said originally: is that call people out.
Absolutely. And, you know, if they share this content online, you know, call them out and say something about it. You know, I mean, people talk about the male loneliness epidemic, but then the guys that are posting about it, their solution is to force women to marry them. It is not take a look inside at yourself and see why you are so abhorrent that no woman wants to interact with you. It's never a problem with them. It's always a problem with women writ large, you know, compulsory marriage or sexual acts because these poor men can't get any companionship. You know, it's putting their problem on the backs of women again.
What was that lady's name that was like the home and garden lady, and then she ended up going to prison for insider trading? Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's a normal thing. She went to prison for that. And now look at what's going on in the last 10 years with this inside trading, and it's going on daily.
Oh yeah, by elected officials or folks. You know, there's rules, whether they are rules in law or rules that are like societal rules that are maybe unspoken or spoken. They don't seem to matter so much anymore. And that, you know, whether it is financial abuse, you know, taking advantage of a situation in order to line one's pockets. I mean, that's what the entire Trump family is doing right now.
Yep.
You know, but you know, the sons have investments or own, you know, like Bitcoin or like I forgot what they're called.
They have
like
drone companies too.
Yeah.
And they have all these things. And hey, what about Hunter's emails or laptop?
Right. And Hillary's emails and Kamala's laugh, you know, these are all things. Those are things again that like we need to create a word in the English language that describes the feeling of complete and utter shock about something that is happening or has happened, along with the complete lack of surprise that it did happen. Because so much of this stuff fits in that kind of bucket of feelings, for me at least. And I feel like the Japanese or the Germans probably do have a word for that. But we need to figure one out too, because it's still shocking to me that so many of these things are happening. But at the same time, we are like, yep, that tracks, that's on brand. And we need to get mad about it.
What about your teenage daughter that this last 10 years has been normalized? This has all been normalized tenfold with what's going on. And as a young person, I worry about them because they don't know that this is not normal.
And that's where we as parents and as adults in these young ones' lives have to come in and talk about it and say, this is not normal behavior. This is not how things have been, at least, on the surface. There's always been the undercurrents of things like this, but it's never ever been so blatant, and like, I can't, and I don't remember this happening because it happened before I was born, but like, they made Jimmy Carter sell his peanut farm, because of the potentials for financial entanglements or something. And he did it, a farm that had been in his family for generations, and Trump just said no, and everybody just let it go. And, we need to make sure that our young ones know that this does not have to be the way it is. And we need them to fight with everything that they have to make sure I hate to say it, but pick up the mantle and fix the mistakes that folks in my generation and folks in earlier generations have made that have led us to this point. There's a certain amount of greed and a certain amount of this, like this whole idea of individualism, and that you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and you need to achieve, and if you don't, it's your fault, ignoring all of these systemic barriers that come to most people, and completely forgetting that they have not accomplished anything without the help and support of others, whether it is their family, whether it is their educators, their teachers, whether it is the government, providing free roads for a business owner to transport their goods on. No one does it by themselves. And we need to go back to, ways that are much more traditional to our community, and that we act and one of the values being that we need to act in a way that supports all of us, that it's not just us, that we are not supposed to be doing things for our own individual success, that this is something that we need to do to help each other out, because when we all do better, we all do better,
Right. Well, it's good. Robert was tracking with you. We're getting a lot of responses on Facebook, YouTube, and all our social medias that we're on. Robert said we need to bring all the tribes together and bring back our traditional ways and live the way the Creator intended us to live. And I think you were just saying that.
Yeah. Absolutely. We need to understand. I mean, unless you are living off the grid, weaving your own fabric, your own textiles, so creating your own clothing, growing your own food, and even that, that's not done just based off of your efforts. There are things that are happening outside of you, whether it is photosynthesis, you have no say over that, but it's not something you did.
Hey, Arvina, we're going to take a quick break.
Sorry, I'm getting a little heated.
No, we want you to be heated, but we also have to pay the bills. We'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio with Arvina Martin, our political consultant.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas offers an affordable 2-year associate degree with a seamless path to a bachelor's. Located in downtown Minneapolis, students receive free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaching, tutoring, a Metro Transit pass, mentorship, and paid internships, all at Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College. Your journey to success starts here.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Visit during free Thursday nights. Every week from 5 to 9 p.m., there's something new to explore. Enjoy date-friendly events like artist talks, performances, and exhibition openings, or explore art-making open library hours and exhibition tours. Settle into your weekend among community. Free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
Hi, it's Dr. Evan Adams, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. Hey, Victor, you better be listening.
In this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are with our friend Arvina Martin, our political consultant directly out of Madison, Wisconsin. And we've been really talking about some heavy-duty stuff, and I really, really appreciate the comments. There's a lot of comments, Arvina, that are coming up on our comment section via YouTube, Facebook, and all the other places that we're at. So we really appreciate people chiming in and speaking their truth, too, because this is something that, like Arvina said, has always been there, and now people seem emboldened to really do these things to our community and to our women and to our young ones. And so this is very important conversation, Arvina, and I really am glad that it's gone this way. We have to keep our own backyard swept and cleaned, and our own side of the sidewalk cleaned and swept, and a discussion like this is powerful and needs to be addressed. So I appreciate this, and I know it's not easy for you too, Arvina.
Yeah, and I mean, it is hard. I mean, because we see it, because we live it every day. It makes you weary, and every time it happens again, to whether it's you or whether it is somebody that you care about or you hear about on the news, it's just devastating. And I also think that this is devastating for our male relatives, because there's something that's lacking, that makes them feel that in order to be special, that they need to put somebody else down, and they need to exert their dominance or something over people they perceive to be less powerful, and have, ultimately it's against folks who are more vulnerable than they are. And and I think a part of it is like what I mentioned before, is that we socialize our young men and our boys to, again, suppress any kind of feelings that aren't anger. And therefore, anger becomes the only emotion that it's acceptable to express publicly or to, even privately to somebody that they care about. And we have to make it so that we know, so that our boys know that it's okay to feel sad about things. And it's okay for them to show that. It's okay for them to cry. That's part of a healthy, natural part of dealing with these emotions that are so hard on people. And we need, our boys need great mentors. They need people that see them. They need people that they can talk to talk through their feelings that might be difficult to discuss or even to articulate. We don't all have the language to be able to describe the things that we're feeling. Some of us have been in therapy for a long time and have a better vocabulary when it comes to talking about emotions and how we handle them and how we process them. And having, our boys having, whether it is, circles with older men, that are there to serve as mentors and to help them navigate, that has got those kinds of things need to happen because they need to see these examples in their lives. And it can't always be women that are doing this labor, because for a lot of people, we are not the appropriate message. They're not going to listen to us. They will listen to you though.
Right.
And so we need your help. Again, none of us do this by ourselves. I cannot knock out misogyny by myself. If I would, we would live in a completely different world. But if you know a young man who needs guidance, be that person or connect them with somebody who they will be able to connect, like someone who resonates with them and that they can build a relationship to, because not everybody has the same kind of role models or parents in their lives to be able to serve in these roles. And sometimes people need folks outside of their family or outside of their parents. We can help our boys and our young men grow into confident humans, and humans that have empathy for others and know to treat other people with respect, regardless if that's their mom or that's their daughter. That everybody deserves to be treated with respect. I think men would be a lot less lonely. But I also think that, when we have boys that are more emotionally healthy, that they grow into more emotionally healthy men, and emotionally healthy men are not the ones that are causing damage to the lives, health, and safety of women around them. So this problem, the cause is an issue within how our boys are growing up, and the result is it's taken out on our women and younger people as well, because it's they're vulnerable as well. And we all, men and women, need to be conscientious of that, and we need to pay attention to how we treat people in public, because that we are all examples for our young ones when they see us, at gatherings or at the grocery store. And that's why our conversation last week about powwow MCs making unacceptable jokes at the extent of, or to the for against women, that's normalized, and the kids hear people laughing, so they think that that's an okay joke to make. And we know that it's not.
Well, one of the organizations here in Minneapolis, and I got to give them a quick shout out, Many Shield Society is doing just that, and bringing men back to the circle. And I just wanted to give them a shout out, because sometimes inch by inch it's a cinch, and yard by yard it's hard. So we want to talk to those people and bring that up. Arvina, we only got like a short 30 seconds left. This has been an amazing conversation, and I really appreciate it. How can people get a hold of you?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm there for any of your training, cultural or political training needs or conversation. I appreciate you holding the space for us to have this conversation today. I was hoping that this would be kind of what we would be talking about. And I'm really grateful that you are one of the men putting this conversation out into, the larger community.
Well, I appreciate you immensely, and what you do and what you do for our community. And definitely this is going to be out there as the best of this week. So again, Arvina Bikini, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Native Roots Radio, we'll see you tomorrow.
Heart health is more than just